The champagne tasted like ash in Alina's mouth. She stood in the center of the Sterling mansion's master bedroom, still wearing the ivory dress Damien's grandmother had bought her. The silk felt foreign against her skin, too expensive, too perfect. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, city lights glittered like scattered diamonds, mocking her with their beauty. The door opened without warning. Damien entered. Loosening his tie with mechanical precision, he didn't look at her. Hadn't looked at her, really looked at her, since the ceremony. "Your room is down the hall," he said flatly. "Third door on the left." Lena's fingers tightened around the champagne flute. "I know, then why are you still here?" The question hung between them, sharp as broken glass. She set down the glass carefully, watching the bubbles rise and burst. "Because I wanted to say thank you." Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "For my mother. For the surgery tomorrow. For giving me a chance to save her." Damien finally turned. His green eyes were cold, calculating. "You're thanking me for a business transaction?" "I'm thanking you for her life." Something flickered across his face, too quick to name. He crossed to the bar cart, poured himself scotch. The amber liquid caught the lamplight. "Your gratitude is unnecessary." "I'm getting what I need from this arrangement," swirled the scotch, studying it like it held answers. 30 days, Mrs. Sterling? Then you walk away with your money and I keep my company clean. Simple.
Oh.
Nothing about this is simple. His jaw tightened. It is if you follow the rules. Rule 1, we maintain separate lives. Rule 2, public appearances only when necessary. Rule 3, no emotional complications. Alina felt something cold settle in her chest. She'd known this was transactional, but hearing him lay it out so clinically made her feel like property. And Rule 4? She asked quietly. Damien met her eyes. Don't fall in love with me. Arrogance should have angered her. Instead, it made her sad. She could see it now, the carefully constructed walls around him. The way he held himself like a man afraid of his own humanity. You're safe, she replied. I don't fall in love with men who treat marriage like a hostile takeover. His expression hardened. Good, then we understand each other. She moved toward the door, then paused. Your grandmother said you used to be different. Before your parents died, Scotch glass hit the bar cart with a crack. My grandmother, Damien said, voice deadly soft, talks too much. She said, you used to laugh, paint, write poetry. That boy is dead. He turned away, shoulders rigid. I suggest you forget he ever existed. Alina studied his reflection in the window. Even in rejection, even in anger, there was something compelling about him. Something broken that recognized the broken parts of her. I'll see you at breakfast, she said finally. Your grandmother insists we maintain appearances for the staff. She was at the door when he spoke again. Alina. She stopped, surprised. It was the first time he'd said her name. Your mother. Will she really be okay? After the surgery. The question was careful, almost reluctant, as if caring about the answer might cost him something. The doctors say yes. If we'd waited another month... ... Her voice cracked. Thank you. Whatever your reasons, you saved her life. Damien said nothing. But when she left, she heard the sound of his glass shattering against the fireplace in her assigned bedroom. Alina found a note on the pillow. Her mother's handwriting, shaky but determined. My darling girl, I know this marriage happened fast, but I saw the way he looked at you during the ceremony. Like he was afraid and hopeful all at once. Whatever brought you together, don't give up on him. Some hearts just need more time to remember how to beat. Love always, Mama. Alina pressed the note to her chest, fighting tears. Her mother didn't know this was fake. Couldn't know. And that meant for the next 30 days, Alina would have to make her believe in a love that didn't exist. She changed into the silk nightgown laid out on the bed, probably chosen by Monica. Through the walls, she heard movement from Damien's room. Footsteps. The sound of drawers opening and closing. Then faintly, something that sounded like crying. Alina froze, hand on her doorknob. Every instinct screamed at her to go to him, to offer comfort. But his rules echoed in her mind. No emotional complications. She climbed into bed alone, staring at the ceiling, wondering how she'd survive 30 days with a man who'd forgotten how to feel. The next morning, she woke to find an envelope slid under her door. Inside was a photograph. Damien, maybe 8 years old, laughing with paint smeared across his cheek. His mother and father stood beside him, their hands on his shoulders, their smiles genuine and warm. On the back, one sentence in his precise handwriting: they died in the car crash. 10 minutes after this was taken, Alina's hands trembled as she stared at the photo. She understood now. Damien Sterling wasn't cold because he was cruel. He was cold because caring had once destroyed him completely. And somehow, that made everything more dangerous. Day 7 brought rain. Alina stood in the mansion's kitchen at 2 a.m. Wrapped in a borrowed robe, heating milk for insomnia she couldn't shake. The marble countertops were cold beneath her palms. Through the windows, lightning fractured the sky. Couldn't sleep either. She spun. Damien stood in the doorway, wearing only pajama pants. His hair was disheveled, and for the first time since she'd met him, he looked human, vulnerable. "Thunder reminds me of my father," she said quietly. "He died during a storm." Damien moved closer, drawn by something he couldn't name. "How old were you?" 12. "He had a heart attack driving home. The car went into the river." She stirred the milk, not looking at him. "They found him 3 days later. My mother never recovered." "Not really, I'm sorry?" The words surprised them both. Alina met his eyes. "You don't do apologies, remember? Rule 3. No emotional complications? Maybe I'm breaking my own rules." The admission hung between them, dangerous and electric. Lightning flashed again, illuminating his face. She could see the exhaustion there, the cracks forming in his careful control. "Why did you give me that photograph?" she asked. Damien leaned against the counter, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his bare skin. "Because you deserved to know. That the monster you married used to be a boy who believed in things. You're not a monster. You don't know what I've done to build my empire. The people I've crushed. The lives I've ruined for profit." His voice was harsh, self-loathing. "Your mother thinks you married a prince. She has no idea you sold yourself to a tyrant." Lena turned off the stove. The milk steamed between them like fog. "I think," she said carefully, "you punish yourself more than anyone else ever could." His laugh was bitter. "Is that your professional assessment, Mrs. Sterling?" "It's my human assessment, Mr. Sterling." They stared at each other while rain battered the windows. Something was shifting, tectonic plates moving beneath the surface of their arrangement. "Your mother's surgery went well," Damien said finally. "I spoke to her doctor yesterday. She'll be released tomorrow." "No, thank you." "Stop thanking me." His voice turned rough. "I'm not doing this for gratitude." "Then why?" The question seemed to pain him. He reached out, fingers hovering near her face, then dropped his hand. "I don't know anymore." Before Alina could respond, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and went pale. "What's wrong?" "It's the hospital, my mother. There are complications." Damien didn't hesitate. Within minutes, they were in his car, speeding through rain-slicked streets. He drove with controlled intensity, jaw tight, one hand finding hers in the darkness. "She'll be okay," he said. "I hired the best surgeons. They know what they're doing." Alina held onto his hand like a lifeline. "If she dies, this was all for nothing. She won't die." His grip tightened. "I won't let her." At the hospital, they ran through sterile corridors. Alina's mother was in emergency surgery. Internal bleeding. Complications from the procedure. They waited in a room that smelled of disinfectant and fear. "I should have stayed with her," Alina whispered. "Should have been there." "We're building a life," Damien said. That's what she wanted. Fake life. A purchased marriage to a man who doesn't even want me there. He turned to her sharply. "That's not true, isn't it? You can barely stand to look at me. You locked me in a separate bedroom like I'm contaminated." "I locked you in a separate bedroom," Damien said, voice strained, "because if I didn't, I'd forget this was supposed to be temporary." The words hit her like electricity. Before she could respond, a doctor appeared. "Mrs. Sterling, your mother is stable. The surgery was successful. Relief crashed through Alina so hard, she swayed. Damien caught her arms wrapping around her waist, holding her upright against his chest. "Thank you," she breathed against his shoulder. Thank you. She felt him tense. Then slowly, carefully, his arms tightened around her. "Can I see her?" Alina asked the doctor. "Tomorrow? She needs rest." "So do you." On the drive back, exhaustion pulled at Alina like an undertow. Her head dropped to Damien's shoulder. She felt him stiffen, then consciously relax. "Sleep," he said quietly. "I've got you." She woke in her bedroom, still dressed, tucked carefully under blankets. Morning light streamed through the windows. On the nightstand sat a single white rose and a note. "Your mother is awake and asking for you. I've cleared my schedule. We'll visit together, D." The D made her smile. It felt personal, real. She found him in his study, staring at his laptop with dead eyes. Papers were scattered everywhere. When he heard her, his expression shuddered. "Ready to go?" "Damien, what's wrong?" "Nothing. We have a hospital visit to make." But as they drove, Alina noticed his hands gripping the steering wheel too tightly. Noticed the muscle jumping in his jaw. At the hospital, her mother was radiant despite her pallor. She held out her arms to Alina, then reached for Damien. "Come here, son." He went stiffly, allowing her embrace. Over his shoulder, Alina's mother winked at her daughter. "Thank you for taking care of my girl," she said to Damien. "I can die happy knowing she has you." "You're not dying," Damien said roughly. "And Alina doesn't have me. This is temporary." Silence crashed through the room. Alina's mother looked between them, confusion dawning. "Temporary?" Mama Alina started, panic rising, but Damien was already standing, backing toward the door. "I'll wait in the hall." He left, and Alina watched her mother's face crumble. "Tell me I'm wrong," her mother whispered. "Tell me this marriage is real." Alina opened her mouth, closed it. The lie wouldn't come. "Oh, baby." Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "What have you done?" "I saved you." "That's what I did," Alina's voice broke. "He paid for everything. The surgery, the treatment, everything. All I had to do was marry him for 30 days. You sold yourself for me." "I'd sell my soul for you." Her mother turned away. And the sight of her shaking shoulders destroyed Alina completely. In the hallway, she found Damien leaning against the wall, head tipped back, eyes closed. "You told her?" Alina said numbly. "She deserved the truth. You ruined everything." Her voice cracked with rage and grief. "She needed to believe in something beautiful. Needed hope. And you just took it away like it meant nothing." "False hope isn't kindness," Damien said. "It's cruelty. And you'd know all about cruelty, wouldn't you?" Tears streamed down her face. "You're so good at it. So practiced." He flinched like she'd struck him. "Alina, don't. Just don't." She turned away. "Take me home. This farce has 23 days left, and I intend to survive every single one before I never have to see you again." The drive back was silent, suffocating. That night, Alina lay in bed, crying into her pillow. She heard footsteps in the hall. Her door opened quietly. Damien stood silhouetted in the doorway. "I'm sorry," he said hoarsely. "I'm sorry for hurting her." "For hurting you? I don't know how to do this. Any of this." He left before she could respond. But in the morning, she found him in his study, surrounded by photo albums. Pictures of his parents, his childhood, the boy with pain on his cheeks, and he was weeping. Day 15 arrived with unexpected warmth. Alina found Damien in the garden, kneeling in dirt, planting roses. His expensive shirt was smudged with soil. The sight stopped her breath. "You garden?" He looked up, and something in his expression was softer than she'd ever seen. "My mother loved roses. White ones." He gestured to the plot. "I haven't touched this garden in 10 years. Today felt like the right time." She knelt beside him, taking a trowel without asking. They worked in silence, hands occasionally brushing, the morning sun warm on their shoulders. "My mother forgave me," Alina said quietly. "Called yesterday. Said she understands why I did it. That love takes many forms. even the broken ones. Damien's hands stilled in the dirt. She's a wise woman. She wants to meet you. Really meet you? Without the act. I'd like that. Something had shifted between them. The walls were still there, but they were crumbling. Brick by brick. That evening, Vincent arrived with papers. Alina found them in Damien's study, voices raised. She lingered in the hallway, knowing she shouldn't listen. The board is suspicious, Vincent said. They're investigating the marriage. If they prove it's fraudulent, you lose everything. Then we make it look more convincing. Damien's voice was tight. They want proof it's real. They're demanding you to attend the Sterling Foundation gala together. Show affection. Convince them this isn't a business arrangement. Then Damien, quietly, that won't be hard anymore. Alina's heart stuttered. What are you saying? Vincent asked. I'm saying it stopped being fake somewhere around day 7. Maybe earlier. Maybe the moment she walked into that café? Papers rustled. I don't want this to end, Vincent. I don't want her to leave. Then tell her I can't. We made a deal. 30 days? Then freedom. She's counting down the hours until she can escape me. You certain about that? Alina pressed her hand to her mouth, tears blurring her vision. She fled before they could discover her. The gala was held in the Sterling Foundation's grand ballroom. Alina wore a crimson dress that Damien had chosen, the fabric clinging to her like sin. When she descended the stairs, his expression made her feel powerful and terrified all at once. You're stunning, he said hoarsely. It's just a dress. No, he offered his arm. It's armor. The ballroom glittered with wealth and pretension. Damien kept her close, his hand never leaving her waist. They danced, and for the first time, she allowed herself to imagine this was real. I heard you, she whispered against his shoulder. In the study, with Vincent, his entire body went rigid. Alina, you said it stopped being fake. Shouldn't have said that. Why? Because it's true? He pulled back slightly, meeting her eyes. The vulnerability there was shattering. Because the truth complicates everything. You deserve your freedom. Your money. A fresh start. What if I don't want those things anymore? Don't. His voice turned desperate. Don't fall for me. I'm not worth it. Too late. The words hung between them like a confession. Damien's eyes darkened. She felt his hand tighten on her waist. Then chaos erupted. A woman's voice cut through the music. Damien Sterling, you fraud. Everyone turned. A blonde in a silver dress stood at the ballroom entrance, fury radiating from her like heat. Natasha Graves. Damien's ex-fiancée. She strode forward, and the crowd parted like water. When she reached them, she threw a folder at Damien's feet. Papers scattered across the marble. Care to explain these, darling? Alina looked down. Contract terms. Payment schedules. Everything documenting their arrangement laid bare for the entire gala to see. Where did you get these? Damien's voice was deadly quiet.
Your lawyer.
Vincent was very cooperative once I offered the right incentive. Natasha smiled cruelly. Did you really think you could fake a marriage and keep your company? The board will have you removed by morning. Alina felt the room spinning. Cameras flashed. Whispers erupted like wildfire. It's true then. A board member stepped forward, disgust evident. This marriage is a sham? No. The word ripped from Alina before she could stop it. It's not. Everyone stared at her. Damien looked stricken. We did start as a contract, she continued, voice shaking but clear. He offered me money to save my mother. I accepted. But somewhere in these 15 days, something changed. We changed. She turned to Damien, pouring everything into her gaze. I don't know when it happened, but I love you. This isn't fake anymore. It's the most real thing I've ever felt. Silence crashed through the ballroom. Damien's expression was anguished. Alina, don't do this. Why? Because you're afraid to feel something? Afraid to admit you might love me too? Because he said roughly, you don't know the whole truth. Ice flooded her veins. What truth? Natasha laughed, high and mocking. Oh, this is delicious. Tell her, Damien. Tell your little bride why you really chose her. Shut up, Natasha. He didn't find you randomly, sweetheart. Natasha's smile was poison. He researched you, investigated your mother's illness, chose you specifically because you were desperate enough to accept and powerless enough to control. Lena felt the ground dissolving beneath her feet. That's not true. But Damien's silence was confirmation. You knew, she whispered. Before your grandmother mentioned me, you already knew about my mother, about the bills. You orchestrated this whole thing. Alina, please, let me explain. Was any of it real? Her voice broke. The garden, the hospital, the way you looked at me this morning like I was something precious. All of it was real. Everything after I met you was real. But the meeting itself was a lie. Tears streamed down her face. You manipulated me from the start, played on my desperation, my love for my mother. I had no choice. I was losing everything my family built. I needed someone I could control. And yes, I chose you because you were vulnerable. But then I met you, and nothing went according to plan. You destroyed every defense I had, by design. The betrayal cut deeper than any wound. You calculated my breaking point, factored in my weaknesses. I was just another business acquisition. You're everything. Damien's composure finally shattered. You're everything I never knew I needed. Yes, I chose you strategically. Yes, I manipulated the circumstances. But I didn't expect to fall in love with you. I didn't plan to want you more than I want my own company, but you did plan everything else. She stepped back, and the distance between them felt like a chasm. Every kindness, every moment, all calculated. Not the rose garden. Not holding your hand at the hospital. Not any of the 1,000 times I've stood outside your door wanting to tell you the truth. The truth, she repeated bitterly. Which one? The truth that you hunted me like prey? Or the truth that you supposedly love me now? How do I believe anything when the foundation was built on lies? Vincent appeared at the edge of the crowd, ashen. Damien, I didn't tell her anything. She hacked my files. Too little too late, Natasha purred. The board has what they need. This marriage is fraudulent. Damien loses his company. I get what I've always wanted. Which is what exactly? Alina turned on her, fury cutting through grief. Revenge. He left me for his ambition. Now his ambition destroys him. Poetic, really. Lena looked at Damien, at the raw devastation in his eyes, and something hardened inside her. Yes, he'd betrayed her. Yes, he'd manipulated her into this. But she'd also seen him cry over photographs of his dead parents. Seen him plant roses for a mother he'd lost. Heard the desperate hope in his voice when he admitted he loved her. You want revenge? Alina said to Natasha, you won't get it through me. She turned to the board members, shoulders straight despite the trembling in her hands. This marriage is real. We fell in love. However it started, wherever it's going, right now, in this moment, it's real. And if you try to take his company because of how we met, I'll fight you with everything I have. Alina, no, Damien breathed. Don't sacrifice yourself for me. Take your money and go. Please, I'm not doing this for you. Her voice was steel wrapped in silk. I'm doing this because it's right. And because, for 15 days, you gave me something I'd never had. You made me feel seen. She turned and walked out of the ballroom, leaving destruction in her wake. In the mansion later, Damien found her packing. Where are you going? Anywhere but here. She didn't look at him. I defended you to the board. Saved your company. But I can't stay in this house. Can't look at you without seeing the man who calculated my breaking point. So that's it? We're done? We were always going to be done. You just made sure I'd leave hating you instead of missing you. The words landed like blows. Damien sank into a chair, head in his hands. I'm sorry. For everything? For choosing you strategically. For not telling you the truth sooner? For falling in love with you when I had no right. Lena zipped her suitcase, then finally looked at him. Really looked? Do you know what the worst part is? I still love you. Even knowing what you did. Even hating you for it. I still love you. I'm going to stay, please. Let me spend the rest of my life making this right. I can't. Tears spilled over. Because I'll never know if anything you do is real or just another calculation. Another strategy to keep me where you want me. She left, and the sound of the door closing behind her was final as a gunshot. Damien sat alone in the empty mansion, surrounded by the ruins of his carefully constructed empire, and finally understood what he'd truly lost. 6 days passed like bleeding wounds. Alina stayed in a modest hotel, refusing to touch the money Damien had deposited in her account. Her mother called twice daily, worried, but Alina couldn't explain the hollow ache in her chest. On day 21, Vincent found her at her mother's hospital room. "We need to talk." They went to the cafeteria. Vincent looked haggard, older than his years. "I'm the one who told you to listen at the study door," he said quietly. "That conversation you overheard? I staged it. Made sure you'd be in the hallway at exactly the right time." Lena's coffee turned to ice in her hands. "Why?" "Because Damien was too much of a coward to tell you himself. And you needed to know how he really felt before the gala." Vincent's expression was pained. "I've been his friend for 20 years. I watched him die inside when his parents were killed. Watched him build walls so high, nothing could touch him. Then he happened. And for the first time in a decade, I saw him come alive. He manipulated me." "He did. And he was wrong." Vincent leaned forward. "But I manipulated you, too. I'm the one who gave those files to Natasha. She didn't hack anything. I handed her the ammunition to destroy him. Betrayal was a physical pain. You destroyed your oldest friend? I destroyed his company to save his soul." Vincent's voice cracked. "He was going to let you leave without fighting. Going to honor the contract like it was just another business deal. I couldn't let that happen. So I forced his hand. Made him lose everything so he'd finally understand what actually mattered. You're insane."
I'm desperate.
"Damien Sterling is the best man I know, buried under 10 years of self-protection. You're the only person who's ever reached him." Vincent pulled out a folder. He's giving it all up. The company, the fortune, everything. He's signing controlling interest to the board tomorrow. What? Why? Because the contract requires you to stay married for 30 days. You left on day 15. Technically, he's in breach. The board could sue you for the medical expenses. Vincent's eyes were steady. So he's surrendering. Taking all the liability on himself? Ensuring you keep everything you were promised. Alina couldn't breathe. He's sacrificing his entire empire for me. For your freedom. He believes you deserve it more than he deserves his company. Vincent stood. "The signing is tomorrow at noon. If you're going to stop him, you need to do it now." She found Damien at the cemetery. He knelt before 2 headstones, white roses scattered at the base. His shoulders shook with silent sobs. "I'm sorry," he said to the graves. "I became everything you didn't want me to be. Cold, calculating, cruel. You taught me that love was strength. I treated it like weakness. You deserved better." She deserved better. Alina's footsteps crunched on gravel. Damien went rigid, then slowly turned. "You came. Vincent told me what you're doing. Giving up Sterling Enterprises? It's already done." He stood, wiping his eyes roughly. "The papers are signed. You're protected. Free. Everything you were promised." "You're an idiot." He flinched. "I know. Your grandfather left you that company because he believed in you. Your parents built it with their blood and sweat. And you're throwing it away?" "I'm throwing it away for something more valuable." His voice was raw. "Your happiness. Your freedom. Your chance at a life without me poisoning it? What if I don't want a life without you?" Hope flickered in his eyes, then died. Don't give me hope I don't deserve. You investigated me, chose me strategically, manipulated my circumstances." She stepped closer. "But you also held my hand in the hospital, planted roses because your mother loved them, cried over photographs in your study, gave up your empire to protect me. Those things don't cancel each other out? No, they don't." She was close enough to touch him now. "They make you human, flawed, real. Not the perfect prince my mother imagined. But not the monster you think you are either. Alina, what are you saying?" "I'm saying I choose you. not the contract. Not the company. Not the calculated arrangement. You, the broken, terrified man who forgot how to love and is desperately trying to remember.
Ow.
Damien's breath hitched. You can't. I don't deserve forgiveness. Probably not. But you're getting it anyway. She touched his face, feeling the tears there. Because I know something about you that you don't know about yourself. You're capable of love. Deep, sacrificial, terrifying love. And that scares you more than losing your empire ever could. I'm scared of hurting you again, then we'll be scared together. Her smile was tremulous. We have 9 days left on our contract. Let's make them real. No strategies. No calculations. Just two broken people trying to figure out if love is enough. It's not that simple. It never is. But I'd rather have complicated truth than comfortable lies. She kissed him softly, tasting salt and hope. Fight for your company. Fight for us. Stop surrendering before the battle even starts. Damien's arms came around her like she was oxygen, and he was drowning. I love you. God help me, I love you so much it terrifies me. Good. Terror means you're feeling something. She pulled back to meet his eyes. Now let's go get your company back. How? The board meets in 2 hours. The papers are already filed. Alina's smile turned fierce. Then we have 2 hours to prove this marriage is real. And I know exactly how to do it. They burst into the Sterling Enterprises boardroom like avenging angels. The board members looked up, startled. Natasha sat at the head of the table, triumphant. This meeting is closed, she said coldly. Tough. Alina strode to the center, Damien at her side. You want proof this marriage is real? Here's your proof. She pulled out her phone, projecting images onto the screen. The two of them in the garden, laughing over roses. At her mother's hospital bed, his hand covering hers. In the mansion kitchen at 2 a.m., sharing warmth and stories. These are from the security cameras, she said. Private moments we thought no one was watching. Moments that had nothing to do with your contract or your investigation? The images continued. Damien crying over photo albums. Alina standing outside his bedroom door, hand raised to knock, lowering it with visible pain. The two of them dancing at the gala, looking at each other like nothing else existed. We started as a transaction, Alina continued, but we became something neither of us expected. Something real. Something worth fighting for. She turned to Damien. Tell them. He stepped forward, voice steady, despite the emotion there. I chose Alina strategically. I admit that. But the moment I met her, every strategy failed. She destroyed my carefully constructed walls simply by being kind, by being brave, by showing me that feeling something is worth more than controlling everything. This is touching, Natasha sneered, but it doesn't change the facts. The marriage was fraudulent at inception. Actually, Vincent entered, carrying more documents. It doesn't matter. The contract says Damien must be married for 30 days. It doesn't specify the marriage must be real at inception, only that it exists. He placed papers before each board member. Every legal requirement has been met. The marriage is valid. The clause is satisfied. That's a technicality. Law is built on technicalities. Vincent's smile was sharp. You lose, Natasha. She stood, fury radiating. You'll regret this, Damien. The only thing I regret, he said quietly, is ever believing I loved you. What we had was ambition wrapped in affection. What I have with Alina is something I'm still learning to name, but it's real. And it's worth more than every company I could ever build. Natasha left in a storm of rage. The board members voted. Damien retained control of Sterling Enterprises, but in the parking lot afterward, as they stood in fading sunlight, Damien pulled Alina close. We have 9 days left, he said. Then the contract expires. So let it expire. She kissed him softly. Then we start fresh. No contract. No arrangement. Just us choosing each other every single day. I want forever with you. One imperfect day at a time. They drove back to the mansion together, hands entwined. The setting sun painting everything gold. Day 30 arrived without fanfare. Alina woke to find Damien already awake, watching her with an expression she couldn't name. Morning light filtered through the curtains, painting him in golden shadow. "It's over," he said quietly. "The contract expires at midnight." I know. They'd spent the last 9 days rebuilding, learning each other without strategies or walls. He'd taught her about his business, included her in decisions. She'd shown him how to laugh again, how to plant gardens without ghosts. But now, the moment of truth. "I need to tell you something," Damien said. "The whole truth. Everything." Alina sat up, heart pounding. "I'm listening. Didn't just investigate you randomly. I investigated 23 women, all in desperate circumstances, all vulnerable." His voice was hollow with self-loathing. "I had files on each of you. Financial records, medical histories, psychological profiles. I was choosing the perfect candidate to manipulate." The words landed like stones. "And you chose me." "I chose you because your file showed you'd do anything for your mother. Because you worked 3 jobs to pay her bills. Because every psychological marker suggested you'd be grateful and compliant." He forced himself to hold her gaze. "I chose you because I thought you'd be the easiest to control." Alina felt something crack inside her chest. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because you deserve to know the monster you fell in love with. Because before we move forward, you need to understand exactly who I was, what I'm capable of." Tears streamed down his face. "I want forever with you. But not if it's built on you not knowing the depths of what I did." She was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was eerily calm. "Show me the files, Alina. Show me." He retrieved them from his safe. 23 manila folders. 23 lives reduced to data points. She opened her own file and felt sick. Subject demonstrates extreme loyalty to maternal figure. Financial desperation creates optimal leverage point. Psychological assessment suggests high compliance, low risk of emotional complications. Recommended candidate for contractual arrangement. "I was a case study," she whispered. "You were a target, and I'm a monster." Damien's voice broke. "I thought I could compartmentalize it. Thought I could separate the business decision from the human cost. But then I met you, and you were nothing like the file suggested. You were stronger, braver, more complex." The file was wrong about one thing. Lena looked up, and her eyes were dry but devastated. "Low risk of emotional complications. Turns out falling in love with your manipulator is quite the complication." "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't give me back my agency. Doesn't erase that you studied me like a lab rat before we ever met." She stood, clutching the file. "You know what the cruelest part is? These last 9 days, I thought we were rebuilding on truth, but it was just another lie by omission. Another calculation. When were you planning to tell me? Or were you hoping I'd never find out? I was terrified of losing you. So you kept one more secret, one more manipulation." Her laugh was bitter. "Do you even know how to be honest? Or is everything just strategy?" "This is honest. Me telling you now before the contract expires, so you can leave knowing everything. That's honest. It's also convenient. It's confess on day 30, so if I leave, you can tell yourself you did the right thing." She moved to the window, staring at the garden they'd planted together. "Did you calculate this moment too? Factor in the optimal time for confession?" "No. I've been trying to tell you for days. Weeks. I just couldn't find the courage." Alina turned, and the pain in her eyes nearly destroyed him. "I need you to leave. Right now. I can't think with you here." Damien left without argument. Hours passed. The sun climbed and fell. At 11:50 p.m., 10 minutes before the contract expired, Alina found him in his study. He sat in darkness. The files spread before him like evidence at trial. "I've been thinking," she said, "about monsters, about manipulation, about whether love can grow from poisoned soil. And I think you're right. You are a monster." She saw him flinch. "But not because you investigated me. Lots of people do background checks before major decisions. You're a monster because you reduced 23 desperate women to leverage points. Because you saw human suffering and thought profit first." "I know. but she stepped closer. You're also the man who surrendered his empire to protect me. He plants roses for a dead mother, who cried when he thought I'd never forgive him. Monsters don't do those things. What are you saying? I'm saying you're not a monster. You're a deeply damaged man who did monstrous things because he forgot how to be human. And I think maybe you're trying to remember. She knelt before him. These files? What are you going to do with them? Burn them. Destroy every piece of data I collected. Make sure no one can ever use them. And the women? The other 22? Damien pulled out another document. I've established anonymous trusts for each of them. Enough to solve whatever crisis drove them into my research. They'll never know where it came from. That's not redemption. I know. Redemption isn't possible, but it's a start. Alina took the files and walked to the fireplace. One by one, she fed them to the flames. Watched 23 lives reduced to data burn into ash. It's midnight, she said, as the last file caught fire. The contract is over, I know. So what happens now? Damien stood, moving to stand beside her. Together they watched the flames consume his past sins. Now, he said quietly, I ask you properly. No contract. No manipulation. No strategy. Just a broken man asking a woman he doesn't deserve for something he has no right to request. He knelt and pulled out a small velvet box. Alina Rivera Sterling, will you stay married to me? Not because of money or companies or dying mothers, but because despite everything I've done, despite the monster I was, you see something worth saving in me. Will you give me the rest of my life to prove I can be the man you deserve? The ring inside was simple. A white gold band with a single diamond, elegant and understated. Nothing like the gaudy display piece she'd worn for the contract. This ring, Damien continued, voice shaking, has no calculations, no strategy. It's just me, terrified and hopeful, asking you to choose me again. Really choose me. Alina stared at the ring, at the man kneeling before her, at the ashes of his sins burning in the fireplace. I have conditions, she said finally. Anything one. Therapy, both of us. Individual and couples. We're both broken, and we need help healing. Agreed, too. You teach me the business. Real knowledge, real power. I won't be a trophy or an accessory. If I'm your wife, I'm your partner. I'd be honored. 3. The other 22 women. You find them. You apologize in person. You own what you did and give them the chance to tell you how your research affected them. No hiding, no calculations. That one made him pale. But he nodded. I'll do it. And for her voice softened. You forgive yourself. Eventually. Because I can't love someone who spends their whole life punishing themselves for past sins. You did monstrous things. You're trying to make amends. At some point, you have to believe you deserve a second chance. That's the hardest one. I know. But it's non-negotiable. Damien stood, taking her hands. I accept all your conditions. Every single one. Now please, for the love of God, tell me your answer. Alina looked at the ring, then at him. At the man who'd been a monster and was learning to be human again. At the woman she'd been desperate and vulnerable, and the woman she'd become, strong and certain. Yes, she whispered. I'll stay married to you. I'll build a life with you. Not because of what you were, but because of who you're trying to become. He slipped the ring onto her finger and it fit perfectly. No calculation required. They kissed. In front of the dying fire, surrounded by the ashes of his past, building something new from the ruins. I love you, Damien said against her lips. I'll spend every day proving I deserve that. You don't have to deserve it. It's the point of love. It's freely given, not earned. She smiled, but I'll let you try anyway. Outside, dawn broke over the Sterling mansion. In the garden, white roses bloomed. In the hospital, Alina's mother held a photo of her daughter and new son-in-law, both laughing in genuine joy, and in the study, 2 broken people held each other and chose, again and again, to believe in second chances. 1 year later, Alina stood in the Sterling Enterprises boardroom, presenting a new initiative. The Sterling Foundation for Women in Crisis. Free medical care, financial support, job training, everything she'd needed when she was desperate. Damien watched from the back of the room, pride evident in every line of his body, After the presentation, she found him in their garden. Their hands were dirty from planting new roses. White ones always white. Your mother would be proud, Alina said softly. Our mothers, Damien corrected, pulling her close. Yours saw something in me worth saving. Mine taught me that love was strength. Between them, they created this. We created this. From poison and pain, and two people brave enough to choose each other despite everything, they stood in the garden they'd built together, surrounded by roses that grew from ashes, proving that even the darkest beginnings could bloom into light. And in the distance, if you listened carefully, you could hear the sound of two people who'd been broken, learning to be whole. Together, the end.